Welcome to the channel. Tonight, we're diving into 3 terrifying trick-or-treating tales that aren't just stories. They're warnings. Real horror. Real disappearances. And a question: what if the scariest part of Halloween was the door you knocked on? The streets were blanketed in dry leaves, rustling with each gust of wind as dusk fell over the quiet New England suburb. Houses stood like silent sentinels, their jack-o'-lanterns flickering to life in orange and red hues, casting mischievous shadows on porches and lawns. Children ran from door to door, costumed and carefree, plastic buckets swinging as they yelled the traditional chant, "Trick or treat!" But at 43 Mallow Street, the porch light remained off, despite its decorations. A scarecrow with a torn flannel shirt, plastic skeletons grinning from behind window panes, and cobwebs strung haphazardly around the hedges. No child dared approach it. It wasn't just the darkness or the eerie music that occasionally wafted from within. It was the feeling, that inexplicable twist in your gut that told you not everything was what it seemed. Still, when Amber and her 3 friends, Dee, Marcus, and Tyler, came around the bend, they didn't hesitate. For teenagers, 15 years old and bored of neighborhood Halloween routes, weren't about to let a creepy house ruin their fun. Urban legend, Tyler scoffed as they stood across the street, looking at the darkened porch. The story about the guy who answers the door dressed like a plague doctor and gives out candy with razor blades? It's fake. Maybe, Dee said, pulling her hoodie tight around her. But I don't get a good feeling. It's colder here. Amber crossed her arms, eyeing the house. It's just the wind. Let's hit it and prove everyone wrong. Come on. Marcus, who'd been unusually quiet all evening, nodded slowly. $5 says there's no one even home. With that, they crossed the street. The yard crunched under their sneakers as they walked up the narrow path. The scarecrow's head tilted slightly as if watching them. The wind died as they neared the porch, a sudden stillness replacing the night's crisp breeze. Tyler reached the door first and pounded it with 3 dramatic knocks. "Trick or treat!" he shouted with a grin, voice echoing into the house. Silence. Then, a creak from within. Dee took a step back instinctively, but Amber rolled her eyes. "Oh no, the haunted door opens by itself," she said mockingly. But when the door did open, slowly and with an unnatural groan, none of them laughed. Inside was darkness, pitch black. No light spilled from the hallway or rooms beyond, just the yawning mouth of a house that seemed to breathe in anticipation. "Hello," Tyler called. "We're just trick-or-treating. Cool decorations, by the way." A sound answered, soft and strange, like fabric dragging across wood. Amber leaned forward slightly. "Let's just go in." "What?" Dee whispered. "Are you insane?" Amber turned back. "There's obviously someone in there. Maybe it's one of those immersive Halloween experiences, like a haunted house. Come on, Marcus, back me up." Marcus looked uncertain, but when Tyler stepped in without waiting, Marcus followed. Amber grinned. "See? Babies," she said to Dee and stepped in too. Dee cursed under her breath and stepped inside last. As soon as all 4 crossed the threshold, the door shut behind them. Hard. The slam echoed through the house like thunder. Tyler spun around and tried the handle. "It's locked." "No way," Amber said and shoved him aside, grabbing the knob. It didn't budge. "Okay. Creepy," Marcus said, his voice strained. "Let's just call someone." They all reached for their phones. No service. Even Dee, who had full bars just minutes ago, held up her phone in disbelief. Dead zone. The air inside was heavy. The scent of old wood, mildew, and something vaguely metallic hung in the stillness. They could barely see in front of them, but as their eyes adjusted, the layout of the house emerged from the shadows. The hallway extended inward, branching left and right into darkness. Faint light, flickering like candles, glowed from somewhere deeper inside. "We go together," Tyler said. "No splitting up. This is just some messed up prank." Probably the theater kids. Totally theater kids, Marcus said nervously, though he didn't sound convinced. They moved as a group, their footsteps muffled on a carpet that looked older than all of them combined. The walls were lined with picture frames, but the faces were scratched out. Literally scratched like someone had taken a knife to them. "This isn't funny anymore," Dee muttered. The candlelight was coming from a room at the end of the hall. It was a dining room. A massive table sat at the center, with old plates set at every seat, the china cracked and discolored. On one plate, a child-sized shoe rested atop a napkin. Amber pointed. "Okay. Now that is messed up." They didn't speak for a long moment. The house remained deathly still, save for the quiet tap, tap, tapping sound from the floor above. "Let's just find the front door again," Dee said finally. "We'll break a window if we have to. I don't care anymore." They turned to go back the way they came, but the hallway had changed. There were no doors, just wall. "No, no, no," Tyler said, walking up and pressing both hands against the drywall. This was just open. The entry hall was here. "Is this house changing?" Marcus asked. "Like that Winchester House thing?" Amber suddenly cursed, stepping back. Something touched my arm. A low, wet laugh echoed from above. It wasn't human. The laugh drifted through the house like smoke, thick and cloying, crawling under their skin. It didn't sound like it came from a throat, but from somewhere deeper, more primal. A scraping, gurgling giggle that made every hair stand on end. Dee gripped Amber's sleeve. "We need to find another way out. I'm serious. This isn't a prank." "Let's go upstairs," Marcus suggested, though his voice trembled. "Maybe there's a phone or a window we can see out of." "Upstairs? Really?" Tyler said, his bravado waning. "That's what people do in horror movies right before they get picked off. What do you want to do? Sit here and wait for that to come down?" Marcus snapped, pointing upward as the tapping sound started again. It was rhythmic like footsteps, except too slow and too heavy. Dee nodded reluctantly. Upstairs. Together. The staircase groaned under their weight as they ascended. Each step felt like it sank deeper than the last, like the house was swallowing them inch by inch. The air grew colder, the walls narrower. The upper floor was dimly lit by the same flickering candlelight. The wallpaper was peeling, revealing layers beneath it. Floral prints from different decades, scratched and marked with what looked like fingerprints. Small, childlike, and bloody. There were 5 doors, all closed. Each had a small symbol etched into the wood. None of them recognizable. Tyler moved toward the one on the far left. "We pick one. If it's locked, we move on." He turned the knob. It opened easily. Inside was a bedroom. A little girl's room, it seemed. Pink walls, lace curtains, a dusty canopy bed. Dolls lined the shelves and floor, all with eyes missing or painted over in black. In the middle of the bed was a dress, a Halloween costume, a ballerina's tutu, pink and glittery. "I don't like this," Dee whispered. Amber moved toward the vanity. A dusty music box sat there. She opened it. A lullaby played, a tune none of them recognized, slow and off-key. As it played, the mirror above the vanity fogged over, and writing began to form in the condensation. "Trick." Then the door slammed shut behind them. Tyler ran and tried it. "It's locked." The music box played faster. The dolls began to shift, some toppling over on their own. Marcus yelled, "The window! Break it!" Amber picked up the chair from the vanity and hurled it at the glass. The window didn't crack. Instead, the music stopped. The room fell silent. And then, slowly, something began to crawl out from under the bed. A hand, thin, wrinkled, blackened like it had been burned. It gripped the floorboards and pulled. A head followed, twisted sideways, face gaunt, skin pulled tight over bone. It had no eyes, just deep, hollow sockets. Its mouth opened wide, impossibly wide. They screamed. Marcus grabbed the vanity chair and hurled it at the thing. It didn't stop. It moved with jerking, insect-like motions, pulling its broken body closer. Suddenly, the door burst open, revealing the hallway. "Go!" Tyler yelled, shoving Dee out first. They all spilled into the corridor, slamming the door behind them. The hallway was different now, longer, and lined with masks, dozens of them. Porcelain, leather, plastic, some smiling, some weeping, some neutral but unnerving in their blankness. One looked exactly like Dee. Amber noticed it first. "That's your face," she whispered. Dee stared. "No, that's not possible." The mask blinked. Screams echoed again, this time not from the teens, but from down the hall. Children's voices. Dozens, maybe hundreds, crying out in unison. They ran. Every door they passed seemed to whisper. The walls trembled. The house groaned with age and hunger. They turned a corner, and there, finally, was a staircase leading down. But it wasn't the same staircase they'd come up. This one descended in a spiral, wrapped in walls covered in newspaper clippings. As they hurried down, they glanced at the articles. All were about disappearances. Children. Halloween night. Different years. Different towns. Same story.
No bodies. No suspects.
Only one thing in common. They all went missing while trick-or-treating. Dee stopped mid-step. "Look." She pointed at one clipping near the middle of the wall. The headline read, "4 teens missing in local Halloween incident. 2023." Their names were printed beneath. Tyler, Amber, Marcus, Dee. "That can't be real," Marcus muttered. This isn't." Then the date hit them. It was 2 years ago. The air grew heavier. Time bent. Reality twisted. They reached the bottom of the staircase and found themselves not in the foyer, but in a basement. Dark, damp, rotting. Chains hung from the ceiling. The walls were covered in childlike drawings. Stick figures, blood-red crayon, images of kids in costumes with crosses over their eyes. In the center of the room was a mirror, large, ornate, depulsed with light from within. And in it they saw themselves, not as they were but pale, bloodied, hollow-eyed. Amber screamed. Her reflection moved differently than she did. Dee turned to run, but the door slammed shut again. From behind the mirror something moved. Not a reflection, a presence. It began to push forward, the glass warping. Then a figure stepped out, 7 feet tall, cloaked in tattered black fabric. A beaked mask covered its face, a plague doctor just like the legend. Its gloved hand clutched a lantern that emitted no light, only shadow. "Time!" it rasped. They backed away. "What do you want from us?" Tyler shouted. "You were given a treat," it said. "And now, the trick." It raised its hand, and their reflections in the mirror began to scream silently. Their bodies convulsed. Amber fell to her knees, grabbing her chest. "I can't breathe," Marcus screamed, his skin paling in seconds, veins darkening. Dee ran at the figure, swinging a chain from the floor, passed through the figure like mist. The plague doctor reached into its robes and pulled out 4 small paper bags. One for each of them, their names written in shaky handwriting on each. Tossed them to the floor. Amber, barely able to move, crawled to hers and opened it. Inside was a heart, beating. Not hers, but it would be. She looked up. The plague doctor raised its hand again. Everything turned black. Amber awoke choking on dust. She gasped, coughed, and sat upright, her body trembling, her vision blurry and her ears ringing as if she'd been too close to an explosion. Around her, a dull gray light filtered in through a shattered window, and the air smelled like mildew and rot. She wasn't in the basement anymore. She was lying on a rotting mattress in what appeared to be a decayed living room. Pieces of furniture were overturned, their fabric torn and infested with mold. A fireplace stood crumbled in the corner, and broken picture frames lined the walls, the photos within blackened or blank. The plague doctor was gone. She wasn't alone. Across the room, Dee sat against the wall, holding her legs to her chest, eyes wide and vacant. Marcus was pacing back and forth, breathing heavily. Tyler was at the window, trying to pry open the boards that blocked their view of the outside. "What happened?" Amber croaked. Marcus spun around, startled. "You're awake." Amber nodded slowly, still dazed. Where are we?" "No idea," he said, voice shaking. "After that thing, after the mirror, I blacked out. We all did, I think. I woke up screaming," Dee whispered, not looking up. "The bags. Do you remember the bags?" Amber nodded slowly. "It gave us hearts." Tyler turned from the window. "Guys, I think we're in a different house." They all looked at him. "What?" He pointed at the window. "It's morning, and there are no decorations outside. No jack-o'-lanterns, no kids. Just fog and dead trees. This place looks abandoned." Marcus walked to the window. "There's no one out there. Not a soul." Amber stood, slowly. Her legs wobbled beneath her. So it wasn't a haunted house. Not a prank. It was real, Dee finished hollowly. They tried the door. Unlocked. But outside wasn't the neighborhood. It was a dead landscape. Trees without leaves, ground covered in gray ash, and a sky the color of rust. The houses lining the street were collapsing into themselves. Roofs caved in, windows shattered. There were no sounds. No birds, no wind, no people. Amber whispered, "Are we dead?" Marcus shook his head.
No.
"I don't think so. But we're not home either." Dee stood at the edge of the porch, staring into the distance. "It's like we crossed into somewhere else." "The trick," Amber said. "It said we were given a treat. Now comes the trick." They began walking. The silence pressed in on them. Each footstep kicked up small clouds of ash. Every shadow looked too long. The sky never shifted. Time didn't move. The road led them past abandoned cars, their insides hollowed out. A few still had Halloween decorations stuck in the windshields. One had a bloody handprint on the inside of the glass. They didn't speak. Eventually, they reached a playground, or what was left of one. Swings rusted in place, the metal chains blackened. A merry-go-round sat crooked, half buried in dirt, and on the seesaw was a child, motionless. Dee stepped forward. "Hey?" No answer. Amber pulled her back. "Wait." The child raised its head. It wasn't a child. His face was porcelain, literally. A doll's face, cracked across the eye. It wore a clown costume, the fabric stiff and faded. In its hand it held a sack, a trick-or-treat bag. It lifted it toward them slowly, almost offering it. Amber shook her head.
No.
"No, don't take it." Tyler took a step forward. "Maybe it's another clue." The thing let out a piercing shriek, its mouth cracking open wider than any doll's should. From behind it, dozens of shadows began rising from the earth. Children, dozens of them, but wrong. Twisted faces, masks fused to skin, eyes missing, arms too long or too short. Some crawled. Others twitched with every movement. Each held a sack. Each shrieked. "Run!" Amber screamed. They bolted down the road, sprinting past ruined buildings and broken signs. The creatures gave chase, their limbs flailing, their sacks dragging behind them. Tyler tripped on a root, hit the ground hard. Amber grabbed him and yanked him up. "Come on!" Marcus spotted a building ahead, an old church mostly intact. "There! In there!" They reached the door and threw it open, slamming it shut behind them just as the first creature reached the steps. Inside, silence returned. The church was lit by dozens of candles. The air was thick with incense and dust. At the far end was an altar, and behind it, a mural of a black-cloaked figure holding a lantern, identical to the plague doctor. "Of course," Dee said. "Of course it would be a shrine to him." As they approached the altar, they noticed names etched into the floorboards. Children's names. Dozens. Hundreds. And in the center, for names had been freshly carved. Amber. Dee. Marcus. Tyler. Amber knelt and ran her fingers over her name. "Why us?" she whispered. A rustle sounded from the pews. They turned. An old woman sat there now, her face hidden by a veil, her fingers gnarled and trembling. She hadn't been there when they entered. Amber stepped forward. "Who are you?" The woman didn't answer. Dee asked, "Where are we? What is this place?" Still nothing. Finally, Marcus said, "What is the trick?" The woman lifted her veil. Her face was stitched together from others. Mouths that weren't hers. Eyes that didn't match. Skin that sagged unevenly. She smiled. "The trick," she rasped, "is remembering who you were." "What?" "You came seeking sweets. You came in masks. But the mask is all you are now. The world has no memory of you. No home. No family. You belong to the house." Tyler stepped back.
No.
"No, we have parents. Friends. We were trick-or-treating. Just a stupid dare." "You crossed the threshold willingly," she said. "You accepted the treat. But the price must be paid." Amber shook her head. "We didn't agree to anything. The house doesn't need your consent. Only your presence." Suddenly, the church shook. The shadows from outside were pounding on the doors. The woman faded, crumbling into ash. The candles blew out, and the doors burst open. The doors crashed open with such force that splinters flew across the church like shrapnel. The shrieking horde poured in, crawling over one another like insects. The shadows of their grotesque masks and outstretched sacks flickered against the candlelit walls, transforming the chapel into a whirlwind of chaos and horror. "Go!" Marcus yelled, pulling Dee by the arm. Amber turned to run, but Tyler stood frozen at the altar, eyes locked on the mural of the plague doctor. His mouth trembled. "It's him," he muttered. "He's in the mural. He's always been here." Amber grabbed his shoulder. "Tyler, move!" The creatures swarmed the pews. Some launched themselves onto the benches, crawling with jerky, bone-snapping motions. Others slithered on their bellies like centipedes with skulls for heads. The church's air filled with the sound of shrieking, the rustle of sacks, and the unnatural clatter of joints moving in ways they shouldn't. They bolted toward a side door. Marcus slammed into it with his shoulder. It opened. A staircase, spiraling down into darkness. "No more stairs," Dee breathed, her voice cracking. "No choice," Amber said. "Go!" They descended into pitch blackness, only their gasping breath and thudding footsteps keeping them company. Above, the screams echoed, but didn't follow. The door slammed shut. It was quiet again. Tyler lit a match, the flame weak and flickering. The stairwell ended in a narrow passage made of stone and dirt, more like a tunnel than part of a house. Felt alive, like the walls breathed in sync with them, exhaling every time they inhaled. "How deep does this go?" Marcus whispered. No one answered. After several minutes of walking, they came upon a chamber. A circular room with no doors or windows. In the center stood a table. On it were 4 objects. A jack-o'-lantern, its candle still burning. A mask, Amber's mask. A cat face, playful and cheap. A sack of candy, unwrapped and rotting. A small mirror. Amber stepped closer. The jack-o'-lantern's flame flared as she approached. Its carved face contorted as if it were smiling wider. Marcus looked at the mask. "That's yours." Amber nodded. "Yeah, I wore it tonight." Maybe this is part of it," Tyler said, stepping cautiously toward the sack. "Maybe these are ours. Tokens or something." Dee lifted the mirror. Her reflection blinked out, replaced by something else. A version of her, pale and ghost-like, with hollow eyes and stitches across her mouth. She dropped the mirror. It didn't shatter, but her reflection smiled from inside it. "What the hell is this place?" Dee breathed. Suddenly, the jack-o'-lantern's flame flickered violently, casting strange shadows against the wall. The shadows twisted and formed words. Trick or treat. Then again slower. Trick or treat. They exchanged looks. "It wants us to choose," Amber whispered. "Again." Marcus said, "It's a game.
No, Tyler replied.
It's a contract. Dee backed away from the objects.
No.
I'm not playing. We didn't choose this. We didn't ask for any of this. The shadows shifted. The walls trembled. Choose. The mirror rose from the floor by itself, hovering mid-air, spinning slowly. A wind kicked up from nowhere, snuffing out the jack-o'-lantern's flame. The chamber shook. The mask crumbled into ash. One by one, the artifacts were vanishing. Amber stepped forward. Fine, she said. Treat. I choose treat. The mirror stopped spinning, and then exploded. She fell backward, covering her face. But there was no glass, only silence. She opened her eyes. She was in her bedroom. Morning light filtered through the curtains. Birds chirped. Amber sat up, panting. Was it a dream? She checked her arms.
No bruises. No as.
No signs of injury. But then she saw it. On her dresser sat a paper bag, folded shut. She approached it with trembling hands. Written in marker on the outside, Amber inside, her cat mask, and a piece of candy, wrapped in old wax paper. The wrapper was stained with something dark. Her phone buzzed on the desk. She grabbed it. Text from Marcus. Did you get out? Another from Dee. Please tell me I'm not alone. I woke up at home, but something's wrong. My mom. She didn't recognize me. Amber's breath caught. She replied, I'm here, I think. I don't know. Then Tyler texted, We're not done. Suddenly, her reflection in the dresser mirror blinked. Not in sync with her. She staggered backward. In the mirror, her reflection smiled. Slowly. Then raised its hand and held up a piece of candy. Amber ran from the room. Down the stairs. Her parents were in the kitchen. Mom? Dad? They turned. Blank stares.
No recognition.
Who are you? Her mother asked. Amber stumbled backward. It's me. It's Amber. You shouldn't be in here, her father said. This isn't your house. They started walking toward her. No recognition in their eyes. Only the hollow glaze of strangers. Amber bolted outside. The neighborhood looked the same. Normal. Too normal. Kids on bikes. Mailboxes. Flags waving. But every person she passed didn't see her. She screamed, shouted, waved. Nothing. Then, across the street, she saw them. Marcus, Dee, Tyler. They stood silently watching her. She ran to them. You too. Marcus nodded. We're back. But we're not back. Tyler turned around. There, on the sidewalk behind them, stood the plague doctor. Motionless. Watching. Still holding the lantern. This flame now a soft blue. It raised one gloved finger to its mask. Mocking silence. Then vanished. The four stood at the edge of the street, caught between two worlds. Their homes surrounded them, unchanged. But they felt the difference like static in the air. Something had shifted. Something fundamental. Tyler rubbed his arms as though trying to shake off a chill. No one sees us. It's like, we're not really here. Amber turned in a slow circle, watching the neighbors mow their lawns, collect mail, walk their dogs, all without noticing them. It was like a simulation running on loop. The same car passed by twice. The same woman waved at no one over and over. I waved at my mom, Dee whispered. I stood in front of her. She walked through me. Marcus pulled something from his pocket. A candy, wrapped in aged wax paper. I found this in my bed. I didn't eat it. Mine was at my door, Tyler said. Same candy. Same wrapping. It smelled like copper and smoke. Amber remembered her own. So what happens if we eat it? Tyler gave a bitter smile. You become one of them. They turned to look back at the sidewalk where the plague doctor had stood. It was empty now, but a shadow remained. A faint outline burned into the pavement, like a warning. We're marked, Marcus said. We never left, Dee added. We just moved into a different layer of the world. Amber frowned. A ghost layer. Maybe we're dead, Tyler said. No, Amber said firmly. We're tricked. There's a difference. They spent the next hour exploring. Each tried their house. None were recognized. Not by friends, not by family. At school, they were absent. Names missing from rosters, lockers empty. Photos vanished from the yearbooks. It was as if they never existed. They regrouped at the treehouse in Marcus's backyard. A place only the four of them knew about. Dee climbed in last and slammed the hatch shut. This is real. All of it. The house. The trick. The bags. That thing in the cloak. I think... Marcus began, voice hesitant. I think we weren't the first. What do you mean? He pulled out his phone and showed them photos he'd taken in the house. Somehow, his phone had survived. One image showed the wall of names in the church. There were hundreds, he said. Hundreds of kids. All Halloween disappearances. Across decades. Dee sat heavily. So what? The house collects them. Or trades them, Amber said. A treat in exchange for a trick. The kids go missing, and in return, something is taken from the world. Memory, Tyler added. We're forgotten. Amber looked down at her hands. They were still hers, still warm, but something felt missing. The longer she thought about her parents, the blurrier they became in her memory. We're losing ourselves, she said. Slowly, Dee looked up. Then we need to find the house again. End it. Before we disappear completely. They agreed. Night fell. They set off again, retracing their Halloween route. It was harder this time. Roads shifted. Landmarks vanished. The world resisted their search, like a dream trying to wake them up before they found the answer. Finally, at the edge of the neighborhood, they saw it. 43 Mallow Street. It hadn't been there before, but now it loomed, exactly as it had the night they entered. Porch dark, decorations still in place, door slightly ajar. It's waiting, Tyler said. They crossed the street. The air grew colder with every step. A wind kicked up, full of whispers and laughter. The jack-o'-lanterns flickered to life as they reached the porch. They stepped inside.
No hesitaschen.
The house swallowed them whole. But this time they knew. The hallway greeted them again. Long, shifting, alive. Amber stepped forward and whispered, We're not afraid of you anymore. The house responded. The walls moaned. Doors slammed open and shut. But the four moved as one. They reached the dining room. The plates were full now, hearts, teeth, glass eyeballs, and masks. Payment, Marcus muttered. Dee opened the hallway closet. Inside were bags. Hundreds of them, each with a name, most faded. Amber searched. Here, there 4 bags, still full. She opened hers. Inside was the mask, the heart, the candy. She took the candy out, unwrapped it. I'm not eating it, she said, but I'm giving it back. She placed it on the floor. The others did the same. One by one, the house trembled. A scream erupted. Not from outside, but from the walls themselves, like the wood had a throat. The plague doctor stepped from the mirror. But now it looked less powerful, smaller. The lantern it held flickered. It raised its hand, but this time Amber stepped forward. You took our names, our faces, our memories, but you don't own us. The figure hissed. Amber continued. We're not your trick. The figure stepped back. The walls cracked. Light, bright, pure white light, spilled from the mirror. It was blinding. It washed over everything. Tyler screamed, but not in pain, in release. The plague doctor dissolved. The house howled. Then silence. Amber opened her eyes. It was morning. Again. But different. She was in her real bed. Her real room. The colors were brighter. The air was lighter. Her phone buzzed. A message from Dee. Are you really back? Amber replied. I think so. Another from Marcus. Mom hugged me. She cried. She knew me. Then Tyler. No mask in the mirror.
No candy. No shadows.
Amber smiled. She walked downstairs. Her parents were in the kitchen. They smiled. Morning, honey, her mom said. You sleep okay? Amber nodded. Yeah.
I'm okay.
She opened the door. The porch was normal.
No jack-o'-lanterns. No bags.
Only the sunlight. She looked across the street at 43 Mallow. It was gone. Just an empty lot. But carved into the sidewalk where the porch used to be were 4 names. Amber, D, Marcus, Tyler, and beneath them one word. Returned. It was Halloween night in Aspen Ridge, a small town tucked in the hills of Pennsylvania where the trees turned red like spilled wine every October and the fog settled thick over the ground. The town was proud of its Halloween tradition, an old-fashioned, all-out affair complete with hayrides, costume parades, and house decorating contests that were judged by the mayor himself. But not every house joined in. At the end of Greystone Lane stood an old Victorian mansion surrounded by black iron fencing and tangled ivy. It was the only house that never lit its porch, never put out pumpkins, and never responded to doorbells. Still, the legends endured. "Don't go near the Bellamy house," kids would whisper, huddled on school buses and around playgrounds. "It eats trick-or-treaters." No one ever disappeared, of course. The stories were just that, stories. Until 2021, when a high school sophomore named Liam Harper decided he'd had enough of ghost tales and superstitions. He wanted proof. "I'll go up there, in costume. Ring the bell." Liam had boasted to his friends in the cafeteria the week before Halloween. "I'll record the whole thing. Just watch." His friends dared him as teenagers do. The word spread. A few even offered to film from across the street, at a safe distance. On Halloween night, Liam dressed as a pirate. Red bandana, plastic sword, and an eye patch that made him look more like a sitcom character than a menace of the seas. His phone was clipped to his chest with a GoPro mount, set to record. He waited until 10:17 p.m., after most of the children had gone home and the streets emptied into silence. Then, under a fat orange moon, he walked down Greystone Lane, alone. His friends, bundled in jackets and whispering nervously, stood behind a parked SUV across the road. "You sure he's gonna do it?" one asked. "He's too stubborn not to." Liam stopped at the black gate. The iron was cold beneath his fingers as he pushed it open. It didn't creak. It moaned. A long, low sound like something exhaling from deep inside the earth. He turned and gave his friends a thumbs up. Then he stepped inside. The front yard was overgrown, weeds curling up the stone walkway like grasping fingers. The air here was colder, heavy, as if the house sucked the warmth out of the world. Liam reached the porch. Up close, the house didn't look abandoned. The wood was in good shape. The windows were clean, but everything about it felt still, like it was holding its breath. He reached for the doorbell. It was shaped like a gargoyle's face, its eyes empty hollows. When he pressed it, the sound that echoed wasn't a chime, but a single, deep gong, like a church bell tolling for a funeral. Nothing happened at first. Then the door creaked open, not by much, just enough to show darkness beyond. No light, no movement. Liam turned slightly toward the camera and said, "Well, here we go." He stepped inside. The door shut behind him, hard. His friends flinched from across the street. "Did he mean to do that?" one whispered.
No.
"He wouldn't slam it like that. Should we call him? He's got his phone, right?" Inside, Liam called out, "Hello." No response. He clicked on the flashlight attached to his GoPro. The beam cut through the dark, revealing a long hallway lined with wallpaper in faded red and gold. The floor was marble, black-veined and dusty, and the air smelled like mothballs and forgotten time. He took a tentative step forward. Something skittered in the shadows above him, fast and light, like claws on wood. Liam whipped the light upward. The ceiling was high, too high. He kept moving. To his right, he passed a drawing room. Covered furniture, old paintings with the faces blurred as if smeared by fingers. One showed a family, a man, a woman, and a child. Their features had been blacked out entirely. Only their clothes remained visible. The child held something in his hand, a jack-o'-lantern pail. From behind him came a soft creaking. He turned. Nothing. The hallway remained empty. But now the front door was gone. Not closed. Gone. Just wall. Liam's heart began to race. Okay, he muttered. Not cool. He pressed the wall. Solid. He turned back and kept walking. The hallway stretched longer than it should have. Windows lined one side, but outside was only fog. No street, no moon, no friends waiting across the road. Just white nothingness. He came to a door on the left. Carved into it was the word treat. He opened it. Inside was a child's bedroom. Toys covered the floor, untouched by dust. A small bed stood in the corner, sheets neatly tucked. On the nightstand was a bowl of candy, each piece wrapped in red foil. Liam stepped closer. A note sat beside the bowl. Take one. He hesitated, then shrugged and picked up a candy. Unwrapped it. It was a caramel, soft and fresh. He ate it. Sweet. Normal. Then the room changed. The bed collapsed inward, sheets twisting into ropes. The toys melted into sludge. The air filled with a low whisper, hundreds of voices saying his name. He turned to run, but the door had vanished. The walls closed in. The ceiling dropped. The candy bowl exploded into ash. The whispers rose into screams. Then silence. And Liam was back, standing in the hallway, the door behind him gone. His heart pounded. The camera on his chest was still recording. Okay, he whispered. You got me. Weird. Very weird. He kept walking. Another door appeared. This one marked trick. He hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a dining room. A long table stretched across the room, set for a meal. Candles flickered. Plates gleamed. At the head of the table sat a boy, dressed like a skeleton. He looked up as Liam entered. Did you like your treat? The boy asked. Liam blinked. What? The boy's face was pale. Too pale. His eyes were empty.
No pupils. No weights.
Just void. I liked mine, the boy said. But then it took me back. Back where? The boy smiled. Where all the children go when they forget the rules. Then he stood, and the room melted into black. Liam stumbled backward as the walls bled away, the elegant dining room dissolving into complete blackness. No shadows, no direction, just an endless void. His arms flailed for something solid, but there was nothing beneath his feet. Then, just as panic began to overtake him, the floor returned. Hard. He landed on a cold stone surface, scraping his knees and elbows as he slid across it. His flashlight flickered. The GoPro's feed continued to record, though the lens was now fogged from an unseen source. He pushed himself to his feet. He was in a new hallway. This one was narrow and lit by red candles stuck into melted wax lumps along the floor. The air was thick, warm, and smelled of iron blood. Paintings lined the walls again, but the images were clearer now. Children, hundreds of them, each in a costume, clowns, witches, robots, monsters, each standing in front of the Bellamy house, and each with black, hollow eyes. Beneath every portrait was a name and a year. He stopped in front of one labeled, Eliza Monroe, 1965. The little girl in the image wore a princess dress and tiara. In her hands, she held a paper bag half full of candy. Someone had scratched lines down the glass with a knife. Another read, Ryan Fletcher, 1982. A vampire. Plastic fangs. Cape. More names followed. Lisa, Jonah, Riley, Marcus, Kaylee. Too many. All vanished on Halloween. Liam backed away. As he did, the hallway expanded. He was no longer alone. Footsteps echoed around him, light, quick, like those of a child darting from room to room. He spun, flashlight searching the corridor. Nothing. Then the laughter began. Children, giggling, whispering, somewhere close. Right behind him, he turned too fast and slammed into something. A mirror. It stretched from floor to ceiling, and what stared back was not his reflection. The boy in the glass wore his clothes, held the same GoPro, same flashlight, but his face was aged gray, with deep sockets under the eyes and a smile stretched too wide. Then it raised its hand and placed it against the inside of the glass. And Liam's fingers moved on their own, matching the gesture. He tried to scream, to pull back, but his body refused. Behind the mirror boy, figures began to emerge, small silhouettes of costumed children. All of them stared at Liam with those black, hollow eyes. They lifted their hands as one. The mirror cracked, once, twice, then shattered. Glass exploded outward, slicing across Liam's arms and face. He fell back with a cry, pressing his hands to his cheeks. When he looked up, the hallway was gone. He was in a bedroom, an old one, dusty, with a fireplace long since unused. A rocking chair creaked slowly in the corner. In it sat an old woman. She didn't move, didn't look at him, just rocked and sang. A lullaby, soft, slow. Hush now, little children, don't you make a sound. The house will come to find you when the moon is round. Liam swallowed.
Mom.
The woman's head tilted slightly, revealing eyes milky with age. You rang the bell. Her voice was dry, ancient. Yeah, I just wanted to see. You stepped through the threshold. You took the treat. He shook his head. I didn't know. I didn't agree to anything. She smiled faintly. Her lips cracked. They never do. But the house doesn't bargain. It collects. Collects what? Children who think they know better. She stopped rocking, then slowly raised a withered hand and pointed to the wall behind him. Liam turned. Another painting. Of him. Same costume. Same pose. Eyes black. Nameplate beneath it. Liam Harper, 2021. He backed away, mouth dry.
No.
No, I'm still here. The woman was gone. So was the chair. So was the fireplace. He stood in an empty white room now. Sterile. Silent. In the center was a chair. On it, a sack. His red canvas, with his initials embroidered in black. He stepped toward it. Inside were three things. A plastic candy wrapper, twisted shut, covered in blood. A tooth, child-sized, still with root attached. A key. He took the key, and the room cracked open. Not a door, but the wall itself split like dry paper, revealing another hallway. This one pulsed with red light. He entered. It was lined with doors, dozens of them, each marked with a name. J. Bellamy, L. Monroe, R. Fletcher, more of the names he had seen in the paintings. And one near the end, L. Harper. He stood in front of it. The key in his hand grew hot. He pushed it into the lock. The door opened to darkness. Then slowly the world around him shifted. He was outside, standing on the porch of the Bellamy house. The door behind him slammed shut. His friends across the street gasped. He's back, one yelled. Liam. They ran toward him, but something was wrong. His legs were stiff, his breath shallow. He turned slowly, reached up to touch his face. Felt plastic, unreal. Reflected in the SUV's window was his face. But not his face. A mask. Of his own face. He tried to scream, but no sound came. Only silence. Liam's scream died in his throat. Or maybe it never existed at all. He reached up again, clawing at his face. The skin, if it could even be called that, gave slightly beneath his fingers. The surface was smooth, too smooth, like wax warmed just enough to deform but not melt. His nails caught on the edge of his right cheek and he pulled. It stretched, but did not tear. From across the street, his friends had stopped running. They stood still, their faces slack with something that wasn't shock or fear. Confusion. Like they couldn't quite make sense of what they were seeing. He took a step toward them. Guys, he tried to say, but the words didn't form. His jaw moved, but no sound came. His tongue was numb, his mouth foreign. His friends backed up one by one. Taylor. his best friend since second grade, whispered, "What the hell is that?" Liam froze. They didn't recognize him. He waved both hands, frantically trying to signal. He pounded his chest, pointed at the GoPro strapped to him. Taylor squinted. "It's got his costume," he said. "Is that?" "No," said Chelsea. Liam was taller. "That thing's shorter." "I swear I saw it come out of the house," said Jordan. "It just stepped out, like it was delivered." Liam staggered forward another step, reaching out. Taylor grabbed a flashlight and shone it directly into Liam's face. The reflection in the beam showed a face not just waxen, but empty. Eyes matte and lifeless. Mouth open slightly, revealing no teeth, no tongue. Just a smooth, dark hollow. Liam covered his face with both hands, backing up. "Let's go," Chelsea said. "I don't want to be near that thing." The group turned and walked away. Liam collapsed onto the steps of the Bellamy porch. He wanted to cry, but nothing came.
No tears. No breath. No warmth.
The GoPro on his chest continued recording. He looked down at it. The small screen displayed his own distorted face, silent, frozen. But in the corner of the frame, the red rec light was gone. It wasn't recording anymore. Or maybe it never had been. He stood, unsure of what else to do. The house behind him loomed, black and silent. It offered no answers. He stepped off the porch and began walking the neighborhood. Everything looked the same. Identical houses, cars, jack-o'-lanterns flickering with the last of their tea-light flames. But something was off. It was too quiet.
No laughter.
No movement. Not even a breeze. And then he saw them. Other children. All walking the streets. All in costume. Each wore masks identical to their own faces. Some carried candy sacks. Others nothing at all. They moved slowly, heads twitching, eyes hollow. Liam approached one, a small boy in a dragon outfit. The boy turned, revealing the same unnatural mask face. No expression. Just a mask with someone else's childhood smile painted across it. Liam stepped back. Another child crossed his path. This one a ballerina, twirling unnaturally, feet scraping against the pavement. She stopped mid-spin and snapped her head toward him. He froze. She raised one hand slowly and pointed at him. More turned. One by one, the faceless trick-or-treaters stopped and faced Liam. None spoke. None blinked. They simply stared. Then they began to walk. Toward him. He ran. Street after street blurred past. The decorations grew older. Crumbling paper skeletons, deflated plastic pumpkins, rotten hay bales. Time distorted with every step. He stopped at a corner where 4 streets met. In the center was a street sign that read, Bellamy's End. He turned in a circle. Every street led back to the same house. Everywhere he looked, Bellamy House. Each identical, each waiting. The trick-or-treaters circled him now, forming a ring. None touched him, but they closed in. He stumbled backward, tripped, fell. And when he looked up, the plague doctor was standing over him. Liam tried to scream. Nothing came. The figure tilted its head, bird-beaked mask glinting in the moonlight that had somehow returned. Its lantern flickered, not with fire, but with faces. Dozens of them, flickering in the flame, crying, pleading, screaming without sound. The figure knelt beside Liam, raised one hand, and pressed it against Liam's mask face. Liam felt nothing, but his vision blurred. The world around him darkened again. When it returned, he was back inside the house, standing in front of the bedroom door. The door with his name on it, L. Harper. He turned around. The hallway was empty, except for the other doors. Each pulsed with light behind them. He stepped forward, touched the doorknob. It burned, not with heat but with cold. He turned it anyway. Inside was a small room, white walls, a window, a single bed, a desk, and sitting at the desk was himself, not the masked version, his real self, alive, breathing, human. Writing in a journal. Liam froze. His doppelganger looked up. Their eyes met. What is this? Liam managed to ask, though the sound was more vibration than voice. The boy stood and approached. You left, the boy said. You stepped out. I stayed. You stayed in the house? The boy nodded. You had the mask. I took the name. No, wait. What are you talking about? You became the face. I became the memory. The room pulsed. The bed, the desk, the journal all flickered. Liam began to fade. No, he said. This isn't fair. The boy raised a hand. Liam's mouth was gone. His eyes next. Then nothing. Liam stood outside his school the next morning. At least, it looked like his school. The gray brick walls. The tall windows. The metal fencing that lined the perimeter. The sign still read Aspen Ridge High, a home of the Foxes, complete with the goofy mascot in faded paint. But something wasn't right. It was the color. Everything looked drained, like an old photograph left too long in the sun. The sky above was a pale smear of off-white, clouds unmoving. There was no breeze.
No vircal.
Not even the distant hum of traffic. And the students, Liam watched as they filed in through the front doors. Each one moved stiffly, shoulders hunched, faces hidden behind masks. Masks that looked like their own faces, like his. He raised his hand and looked at it. Still waxy, still numb. He hadn't escaped. He never had. The boy in the room, his copy, had taken his place in the world. He was the ghost now, the shadow. He turned and walked down the street, hoping that motion would make the colors return, that maybe if he walked far enough, fast enough, the spell would break. But the world didn't change. It looped. Every few blocks, the Bellamy house appeared again. Sometimes standing tall, sometimes crumbled and overgrown. But always there, always watching. And in the yards, decorations. Grinning jack-o'-lanterns with eyes too wide. Paper skeletons twisted like they were hung, not posed. Candy bowls filled with red-wrapped caramels, just like the one he'd eaten. He stopped in front of one house. It looked just like his parents. He peered in the window. Inside, the boy was there, the other Liam, eating breakfast, laughing with his mom and dad, his sister tossing cereal at him across the table. They remembered him. Not this Liam. The real Liam. He was outside, watching, forgotten. A wind kicked up suddenly, lifting leaves in a spiral that circled his feet. From the edge of the lawn, a girl appeared, dressed in a simple witch costume, her long black hair tangled in her scarf. She looked about 12, maybe younger, but her eyes were old, too old. She looked straight at Liam. "You're still here," she said. He flinched. It was the first voice he'd heard in what felt like days. "You can see me?" The girl nodded. "Of course. You're like me now. Like you." She pointed to the Bellamy house across the street. "You stepped through. I didn't mean to. They never do." Liam approached her slowly. "What is this place?" "Shadowtown," she said. "Ghost lair. Dead light. Call it whatever you want. It's the in-between." "In between what?" "Between remembered and forgotten." Liam stared at her. "Can I go back?" She didn't answer. Instead, she walked toward the Bellamy house's porch. "You're not the first, you know," she said. "Kids disappear every year. Every Halloween." "I've seen the pictures," Liam whispered. She stopped at the gate. "You want out?" "Yes. Then you have to take back what was stolen." "I don't know how." "You will." The wind picked up again, and the girl vanished.
No puff. No smoke.
Just gone. Liam stood alone, his fake face burning under the pale sky. He turned to the house. Its door opened for him. He stepped inside. This time, the house was different, brighter. Music played from an old gramophone in the corner. Something classical, cheerful, incongruent with the rot beneath the surface. The wallpaper was clean. The lights were on. But everything felt artificial, like a dollhouse perfectly posed for inspection. In the parlor, portraits of children hung neatly. He walked past them, familiar now. He reached the stairs. At the top was a mirror. In it, the other Liam, sitting in his room, wearing his clothes, living his life. The mirror rippled like water. Liam reached out, and his hand passed through. Suddenly, he was standing in his room again, but not fully. His body flickered, translucent, and the other Liam turned. Their eyes met again. Only this time, Liam saw the cracks. Small fractures at the corners of his copy's eyes. The lips too wide. The way he moved like a puppet pulled by invisible strings. The real Liam stepped forward. "You don't belong here," he said. The double stood. "You gave it up. I took a treat." "You took the house's gift," the double replied. "And now you're part of it." "No," Liam said. "I'm taking it back." He lunged. The room shuddered. They collided not with fists or force, but with something deeper. Two souls occupying the same space. The double screamed. A soundless, shattering scream that vibrated the air. The mirror cracked, then shattered. Liam opened his eyes. He was lying on the floor of his room, sweating, breathing. His face was wet with tears. He ran to the mirror on his wall. His reflection matched his movements perfectly. Behind him, his door burst open. His mom. "Honey, are you okay?" He turned. She looked at him and smiled. "Oh my God, you're awake," she whispered. "You passed out. We thought." He hugged her tightly. She held him close, trembling. "I'm here," he whispered. "I'm here." Downstairs, the doorbell rang. Trick-or-treaters. He froze. The door creaked. He stepped to the top of the stairs and looked down. Through the open door, he saw the last group of kids heading off down the street. Just 3 of them. One girl turned back and smiled. It was the girl in the witch costume. She waved, then vanished into the dark. Liam stood motionless at the top of the stairs, hand gripping the banister so tightly his knuckles went white. The witch girl had vanished. But it wasn't the same as before. There was no dramatic wind or swirling mist. No crackle of dark magic. She simply blinked out of existence, like someone had shut off a television. And yet, her presence remained, like a perfume left behind after the wearer had long gone. Downstairs, his mom called out, "You okay, sweetie?" Liam blinked. "Yeah," he said. "Just tired." But he wasn't tired. He was wide awake and aware. Something had changed since the mirror shattered. He patted down the stairs, fingers grazing the wall to assure himself that everything was real, solid, grounded. His mom moved around the kitchen, humming some Halloween tune from her childhood. The lights flickered warmly overhead. Outside, laughter echoed from kids who hadn't yet gone home with their sugar-fueled prizes. He opened the front door. The sky was deep violet now, the last rays of daylight slipping beneath the treetops. A line of costumed children moved past his house, some yawning, others stuffing their faces with candy. All normal. All fine. Liam's gaze drifted across the street to where the Bellamy house had stood the night before. It wasn't there anymore. In its place was an empty lot, overgrown with vines and brittle grass. But not completely empty. He stepped off the porch and crossed the street, heart thudding in his chest. In the center of the lot was a stone, half buried in the soil, like a gravestone without a grave. Liam knelt beside it, brushing off dirt and leaves. The inscription was simple. To those who chose the treat beneath it, scratched faintly in what looked like fingernail marks, were dozens, maybe hundreds of names. Liam found his, and next to it, freshly carved, "Returned." He sat there for a long time, staring at the stone, feeling the cold creep up through his legs into his spine. His phone buzzed in his pocket. It was Taylor. "You good, man? We saw you come out last night, but you ran off before we could talk." Liam stared at the screen. So, they remembered seeing him, but not what they'd seen. Not the mask. Not the silence. Not the way they'd walked away. He typed back, "Yeah, had to clear my head. Sorry I bolted. Another message came in seconds later. No worries. You scared the crap out of us. Wanna come over later? We're watching horror movies. Liam hesitated. Then sure. Be there soon. He stood and looked once more at the stone. Then back at his house. Everything looked normal again. His reflection had returned to him. His name. His place in the world. But something inside still felt hollow. Later that night, as he sat in Taylor's basement eating popcorn and watching the thing, he laughed. Genuinely. For the first time since the Bellamy house. But when he reached into his candy bag for a Reese's, he froze. There it was. Piece of candy. Wrapped in red foil. Identical to the one he'd eaten in the house. He stared at it for a long moment. Then slowly unwrapped it. It was the same caramel. Same smooth texture. Same smell, faint, warm, a little like burnt sugar and apples. Taylor noticed. Hey, where'd you get that one? Liam looked at him, paused, then said, nowhere. He put it in his mouth. It melted instantly, sweet, but beneath the sugar, something bitter, metallic. He felt his vision blur, just for a moment. In the reflection of the TV screen, his face smiled back at him. Then smiled again, a fraction of a second after he did. He blinked. The reflection synced again. For now, he didn't say a word. Later, when he returned home, he found a note on his pillow. Typed, plain. You were given the treat. The trick never ends.
No signature.
No threat. Just a reminder. He folded it and placed it inside the pocket of his hoodie. As he turned off the light and crawled into bed, he stared at the ceiling and whispered into the dark, I remember. And in the silence, a child's voice whispered back, so do we. It was supposed to be a last hurrah. Halloween in Merrow Creek always carried a breath of finality. The leaves that carpeted the streets clung to the smell of decay. The jack-o'-lanterns sagged in their own rot by midnight, and the wind bit sharp like the town was exhaling ghosts. For high school senior Cammie Dorsey, it was the last year to do Halloween right, before adulthood stole the chance forever. And she had a plan. Let's go big this year, she'd told her friends in late September. Not a party, not another night of watching Hocus Pocus. Let's trick or treat. One last time. Like kids. Her best friend Nora laughed, but agreed. Only if we wear real costumes. Like full-on cosplay. Not that I'm a mouse. Da crap. Josh, always half distracted by his guitar or the nearest vape cloud, shrugged. Sure, whatever. I'll be a zombie again. They planned it out. Not the usual suburban neighborhoods, either. They were going to the Old Quarter, a section of Merrow Creek that was technically still part of the town, but which most people ignored. All the houses were from the 1800s, giant Victorians and crumbling brick manors, most of them uninhabited or awaiting historic restoration, as the town council phrased it. But according to Nora's older cousin, who once delivered pizzas there, a handful of people still lived in those houses. Not normal people, he'd warned. Weirdos. Don't stay long if someone opens the door. Cammie loved the idea. Perfect, she'd grinned. Let's see if we can get candy from a haunted house. And so Halloween night arrived. Cammie dressed as a plague nurse, gray dress, powdered face, and a black mask shaped like a beak. Nora wore a massive, flowing raven costume, feathered sleeves trailing behind her. Josh, predictably, was a lazy zombie with smudged eyeliner and ketchup on his jeans. They left just after sundown, passing crowds of kids and parents in safe, cheerful neighborhoods lit by glowing porch lights and Bluetooth speakers playing Monster Mash. But as they crossed the small wooden bridge into the Old Quarter, everything changed. It was quiet. The only sound was the wind sweeping through the tall grass that had grown wild between cracked cobblestones. The houses stood like hollowed-out sentinels, dark windows like eyes. Cammie was exhilarated. This is it, she whispered, raising her phone to record. The real Halloween. They hit the first 3 houses on the block. All empty. Cammie still rang the bells, knocked, even tried the doors. Nothing. The fourth house had a single candle flickering in the window. Cammie's pulse jumped. Finally, she said. Someone's home. The house was 3 stories tall with sharp gables and stained glass windows depicting saints and skulls. Ivy blanketed the left side, curling like fingers across stone. Cammie knocked. No answer. She knocked again. Then, slowly, the door creaked open. Not wide, just enough to reveal the edge of a shadowed hallway and the scent of burning wax. "Hello?" she called out. Nora shifted nervously. "Maybe we shouldn't trick or treat," Cammie called into the dark, voice chipper. There was a long pause. Then a voice floated from within. "Come in. Candy is inside." Josh frowned. "That's not normal." "Neither are we," Cammie said, and stepped through the door. Inside, the air was warmer than expected. Too warm. It smelled like cloves and honey, and beneath that, something metallic, like rust. The hallway was lined with ornate wallpaper, curling at the edges. Paintings of angels hung crooked on the walls, but their eyes were scratched out. A table stood against the far wall. On it, a silver bowl, and in it candy, wrapped in black wax paper. Old-fashioned. No logos. Cammie picked one up. "You guys coming?" she called. Nora and Josh lingered on the porch. "Seriously," Josh said. "I've got a weird feeling." "Same," Nora said. "Cammie, let's just go. We'll find another house." Cammie laughed. "You guys are the ones who said we should go big." She turned and popped the candy into her mouth. It was sweet, first, then bitter, burnt. She tried to spit it out, but it had melted too fast. She staggered. The hallway twisted. The floor beneath her wavered like a reflection on water. She heard Nora scream, then silence. When she opened her eyes, she was alone. The hallway was gone. Now she stood in a large parlor lit only by candlelight. The air was thick with incense. A grandfather clock in the corner ticked loudly, too loudly. Each tick was like a hammer to her skull. She turned. The door was gone, the windows covered, and in the middle of the room stood a woman, tall, thin, her face hidden behind a porcelain mask painted with red tears. She wore a dress stitched from children's costumes, Batman logos, spiderwebs, glittery unicorns, all crudely sewn together. Cammie opened her mouth, but no sound came. The woman raised one gloved hand and pointed. Cammie turned. 3 doors stood behind her now. One read, "Trick," another, "Treat," the third, "Memory." The woman said nothing, but Cammie understood. "Choose." Cammie's heart pounded like a war drum. The woman in the stitched costume didn't move. She simply stood, finger outstretched, as if demanding an answer. The porcelain mask reflected the candlelight, unmoving, unreadable. Behind it, Cammie could feel eyes watching, measuring. She looked at the 3 doors again. Trick, treat, memory. She took a step toward treat, but the flame of a nearby candle flared violently, forcing her to step back. A warning. "Okay," she whispered to no one, throat raw. "Not that one." She turned toward the trick door. The handle pulsed faintly, not with light but heat. It radiated a warmth that felt artificial, like a light bulb too long left on. Her hand trembled as she reached for it. Before her fingers touched the knob, she glanced at the 3rd door again. Memory. She'd never seen that option in a game. Trick or treat, sure. That was the ritual. That was the expectation. But memory, as she stared at it, something deep inside her stirred, something primal. A feeling that if she walked through that 3rd door, she wouldn't come back the same. If she came back at all. She looked back to the woman, still pointing, still silent. Cammie took a breath and grasped the knob to the trick door. The door opened slowly, no creak, no groan, just an expanding blackness. Then a hand grabbed her wrist. It wasn't human. Cold, leathery, with fingers too long and no fingernails. Cammie screamed, but her voice didn't echo. It was swallowed by the room. Another hand grabbed her ankle. She tried to pull back, but the grip tightened. The darkness behind the door pulled her in, and everything fell away. When she woke, she was lying in a street. Not the old quarter. Not anywhere she recognized. The sky above was dark, painted in swirling shades of gray. The air felt wrong, like it had weight. The houses that lined the street were tall and thin, stretching toward the clouds like crooked teeth. Cammy stood, knees shaking. Her costume was intact, but something was missing. Her mask. It was gone. She looked down. In her hand was a sack. Old canvas. Faded red. Inside, candy. Wrapped in black wax paper. One for every year of her life. 18 pieces. She dropped the sack. Footsteps echoed behind her. She turned fast. A child stood at the end of the street. Alone. Wearing a mask, her mask. The plague nurse beak. The child raised one hand and waved. Cammy took a step forward. Hey, who are you? The child didn't respond. Just turned and began walking. Cammy followed. The streets twisted around her. Each turn led to more of the same. Identical houses. Identical doors. Identical fog. The sun never rose. The moon never changed. The world was paused, a frozen Halloween. At last they reached a house, smaller than the rest. Cammy felt a jolt of recognition. It was her childhood home, but twisted. The siding was peeling. The swing set in the yard hung limp. The windows were dark, and shadows moved behind the curtains. The child walked up the porch, vanished through the door without opening it. Cammy stood at the gate. I don't want to go in, she whispered, but she did. Inside, it smelled of cinnamon and blood. The walls were covered in drawings, crayon scrawls on yellowed wallpaper. Each image showed the same thing. A little girl standing at a door, candy bag in hand. Always the same girl. Always Cammy. And always at the doorstep of a strange, dark house. Her heart raced as she stepped deeper inside. The dining room table was set for 3. On the plates, wax lips, doll limbs, teeth wrapped in foil. She stumbled backward and knocked over a chair. A voice called out from upstairs. Cammy? It was her mother's voice. But her mother had died 2 years ago. Cammy backed toward the front door, but it had disappeared again. The child was in the hallway now, standing with her back to Cammy, still wearing the beak mask. Then the child turned, and Cammy saw her own face. Not aged, not distorted. Her exact childhood face. Eyes wide, mouth stitched shut. The child raised her hand and pointed at Cammy's chest. Cammy looked down. A note was pinned to her shirt. You asked for the trick. The child vanished. The lights went out, and everything fell away again. Cammy woke screaming. This time she was in a hospital room. Bright fluorescent lights, beeping machines, a nurse rushing in. She's awake. She's awake. Her voice sounded far away. Cammy blinked. A doctor appeared. A man in his 50s with silver-framed glasses and a clipboard. Cammy? Can you hear me? She nodded. Barely. What happened? You collapsed, he said gently. On Halloween night. Your friends brought you in. You've been unconscious for 3 days. Where are they? They're here. They've been taking turns sitting with you. The doctor left, and minutes later, Nora and Josh entered the room. They looked pale, hollow-eyed, but relieved. Nora ran to her and hugged her. You scared the hell out of us, she said. Josh nodded. You just fell over. Eyes wide, like someone cut the strings. Cammy closed her eyes. She remembered. All of it. The house. The woman. The doors. The child. Everything. You guys saw the house, right? She asked. Nora hesitated. What house? The one with the candy. The black wrappers. The voice that said to come in. There was no house, Cam, Josh said. We were just walking. You stopped. Said something about a candle. Then you collapsed. No, I went inside. You saw me. You saw me go in. They looked at her, pity in their eyes. Cammy felt cold. She reached for the candy bag she knew would be on her lap. Nothing. She reached to her chest. No note. The hospital room was just a hospital room. No drawings, no stitched masks, but in the trash beside her bed, a single candy wrapper, black wax paper. She stared at it for a long time. The candy wrapper sat in the trash can like a dare. Its edges were crisp and smooth, not torn or crinkled like it had been opened in haste. Someone had placed it there deliberately. It lay atop an empty paper cup and a used gauze pad like it belonged, as if the hospital itself had offered it, as if the trick had followed her even here. Cammy stared at it, her mind reeling. She was alive. Her friends were with her. But the house, the hallway, the stitched woman, the 3 doors, none of them could have been hallucinations. She remembered them too vividly. The feel of the candy dissolving on her tongue. The strange heat of the door labeled trick. The hand that had pulled her in. And the child with her face. Her mother's voice. Her dead mother's voice. Nora sat in the chair next to her bed, scrolling her phone. Josh leaned against the wall, arms crossed, quiet. Cammy asked again, more quietly this time. You really didn't see the house? Nora didn't look up. We told you, Cam. You stopped. You looked up at something and whispered, "It's open." Then you just collapsed. I went inside, Cammy said. I walked through the door. There was candy. Josh interrupted. There was no door, no house, just empty sidewalk. But I ate it, Cammy whispered. I felt it. I remember every bite. Her hand drifted to her chest, fingers brushing her hospital gown where the sack had once rested. Empty. The doctor returned later that afternoon. Ran more tests, scans, blood work. Everything came back normal. You're fine, he said. No signs of trauma. No signs of drug use. If I had to guess, I'd say stress-related syncope. Could be neurological, but I'm not seeing any red flags. Cammy didn't tell him about the doors, or the stitched mask woman, or the house that didn't exist. He wouldn't understand. They let her go home the next day. She didn't go back to school. Not yet. She spent her hours combing through local forums and archives, searching for anything about black-wrapped candy, disappearing houses, hallucinations on Halloween. That's when she found it. A post on an old Marrow Creek Urban Legends thread. Anyone ever heard of the Stitched Woman? I'm not making this up. Halloween night, 2006. My cousin was out trick-or-treating and he said he went to a house on Redfern Street, a big old place that wasn't there the next day. Inside was this woman in a dress made from costumes. She didn't talk, but there were 3 doors behind her: trick, treat, and memory. He chose memory. He didn't sleep for months after that. His parents had to move him to a different school. He wouldn't talk about what he saw, but he remembered things that hadn't happened. Stuff about kids who disappeared. One night he carved a list of names into the wall and didn't remember doing it. The next year, on Halloween night, he was gone. Like gone. Vanished from his locked room. No trace. I still wonder what would have happened if he'd picked trick. Cammy stared at the screen. She read the post 5 times. Then she messaged the user. No response. Their account had been inactive since 2008. She dug deeper. Local police reports. Missing children. Disappearances on Halloween night. There weren't many, but enough to raise suspicion. A girl in 1989. A boy in 1974. Another case in 1952. Different decades. Same circumstances. Each had vanished on Halloween. No leads. No suspects. No signs of forced entry. She found photos. In each, a bag of candy was visible. Always the same kind. Old-fashioned black wax wrappers. She remembered the sack. It had contained 1 piece per year of her life. She felt sick. That night, she sat alone in her room. Outside, the wind howled against the windows. Her porch light flickered, even though Halloween had come and gone. She checked the trash again. The wrapper was gone. No one had cleaned her room. She hadn't touched it. She lay in bed with the lights on. Around 2:17 a.m., she heard it. 3 soft knocks. Not at her door. At the window. Her room was on the second floor. She sat up, held her breath. Another knock. Slow. Deliberate. She stood and crossed the room, heart slamming in her chest. She parted the curtain and screamed. The child was there, hovering outside her window, still wearing the beak mask, still wearing her face. The child raised one hand and held up a new piece of candy. Black, wax-wrapped. The mask lifted. Beneath it, no face, just darkness. Cammy stumbled back. The lights flickered. Her room darkened. The child was gone. So was the candy. But on her pillow lay a note, written in ink the color of old blood. You have 17 left. Cammy didn't sleep the rest of the night. She sat with her back against the headboard, knees pulled to her chest. Every light in her room turned on. Her eyes never left the window. But the child in the plague mask didn't return. The candy remained on her pillow, black-wrapped, slightly warm. She didn't touch it, didn't throw it away either. Instead, she picked it up with a tissue and dropped it into a glass jar, sealed the lid tight, and shoved it into the back of her closet beneath old hoodies and a broken shoebox of prom photos. The note stayed on her nightstand. You have 17 left. She read it a dozen times, each glance more surreal than the last. The number haunted her. If she'd had 18 pieces in the sack, and she'd eaten one in the house, then each piece must represent something. A countdown? She didn't need to be told what would happen when it reached 0. That morning, her mom commented on how pale she looked, asked if she was okay. Cammy lied, said she'd had a bad dream, maybe still recovering from the hospital, maybe low blood sugar. But when she looked in the mirror while brushing her teeth, something was different. Her reflection blinked a half-second after she did. Only once, but she saw it. It happened again while brushing her hair, and again when she walked past the hallway mirror by the front door. Always a flicker behind, always lagging just enough to notice. By lunch, she felt a pressure in her head. Not pain, more like a presence, like something watching from behind her eyes. She called Nora. No answer. Called again. Voicemail. She texted, "Did you see anything last night?" "At my window." Nothing. 30 minutes passed. Then a reply, "Who is this?" Cammy blinked. Cammy, you okay?" The response came fast. "I don't know a Cammy. Stop texting me." She stared at the message. Panic bloomed in her chest. She called Josh. He answered. "Hello, Josh. It's me, Cammy." Silence. Then, "Cammy who?" "It's me. From Halloween. The hospital. The house." More silence. A quiet breath on the line. Then a click. Disconnected. She sat down hard on the edge of her bed. What the hell was happening? She went to her yearbook. Flipped to the senior page. Her photo was gone. No empty square. Just like she'd never existed. In a panic, she pulled out her phone, opened her camera roll. Selfies? Gone. Photos with Nora? Josh? Gone. She checked Instagram. Her profile was there, but empty. Her followers, 0. Her posts, gone. Messages, unreadable. Just blank bubbles with no sender. She ran to the bathroom mirror. Her reflection was closer this time. Its lips moved just after hers. Its expression wasn't quite right. Not like it was copying. Like it was learning. The knock came again at 2:17 a.m. Same pattern. Same pace. 3 soft knocks. Window. Second floor. She didn't get up. She didn't look. But she heard the whisper. This time it came from inside the room. Low. Childlike. Familiar. "You shouldn't have eaten it." Cammy grabbed the pillow. The note had changed. "You have 16 left." She checked the closet. The jar was gone. Her hands trembled. She screamed for her mom. Her mom opened the door, half asleep, concerned. "What is it, baby?" Cammy pointed at the window. She was here again. The girl. With the mask. She left another candy. Her mom blinked. "The window? Cam, that window's been painted shut since we moved in. You know that." Cammy stepped aside. No. Look. She was there. Her mom frowned, and then said something that crushed her. Camille, honey, are you having another episode? Cammy's world dropped out from under her. What did you just call me? Camille, her mom said. Like always. My name's not Camille. She stopped. The air shifted. Her throat tightened. She tried to say her name again, but it felt wrong, like a shape her mouth couldn't form. I'm not Camille, she whispered, voice cracking. Her mother gave her a sad smile. You always say that when you get scared. Cammy backed up. The lights flickered. Her mom didn't seem to notice. I'll make some tea, her mom said softly. Get back to sleep. We'll call Dr. Halvorsen tomorrow. Then she was gone. Down the hall. The light from the doorway flickered once more, and went out. Cammy didn't move. She stood in the dark, shaking, breath fast and shallow. Her phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. You can stop this. She typed back. How? The reply came fast. Return it. The candy. All of it. Where? Same place you took it. Her phone buzzed again. This time a photo. Of the house. The one from the old quarter. But it was different. Half burned. Roof collapsed. Windows shattered. Beneath the image, a single line. Midnight. Come alone. The image wouldn't leave her mind. The house on Redfern Street. Half collapsed. Burned out. Long condemned. It was real. She'd passed it before. Back when she was a kid and her dad drove the long way home from the library just to see the pretty bones of history. It had always looked like it was rotting under the weight of its own memories. But it wasn't the same house she'd stepped into on Halloween night. That one had been whole. Alive. A mansion dressed in masquerade. This was its corpse. Still, she knew. It was where she had to go. Cammy packed a flashlight, gloves, a backpack with extra clothes, and a small metal box she found in her dad's tool shed. She tore through the house, every drawer and closet, searching for the black-wrapped candies. Nothing. No jar. No wrappers. No sack. No note. Not even the pillow remained. Just her mattress, flat and cold, like it hadn't been slept in for years. She stood in front of her mirror, braced against the dresser. Her reflection stared back. It didn't blink. She did. Smiled. She didn't. Enough, she whispered, and left. The night air bit her skin as she walked down Redfern Street. Fog swirled around her ankles like it recognized her. The streetlights were out. The town seemed deserted. Not quiet, empty, as if the world had curled inward to let this moment play out undisturbed. The house waited at the end of the lane. The door stood open, the frame crooked, like a mouth hanging open after a scream. She stepped inside. Her flashlight flickered. The air smelled like old ashes and candle wax. Every board groaned beneath her, but the house welcomed her. The front hallway was scorched, wallpaper long gone, ceiling half-caved. But the shape was familiar. She could feel it in her bones. She moved forward, room by room, until she found it. The parlor. The one from before. Burned and broken now, but unmistakable. The fireplace was filled with charred bones. Real or not, she couldn't say. And there, on the floor, untouched by soot or dust, stood a single table. On it, a silver bowl. Inside the bowl, 17 black-wrapped candies. They pulsed faintly in the dark. Cammy didn't hesitate. She opened the metal box and scooped them in, one by one. As she dropped the last one in, the door behind her slammed shut. The house shuddered. And then voices, whispers, from the walls, the ceiling, the air. You took? You ate. You were given. Cammy turned slowly. The stitched woman stood in the doorway, her porcelain mask now cracked. One eye exposed, blue and weeping. A real eye. Cammy stepped forward. I didn't know. The woman raised a hand. No one does, she said. Her voice was a dozen voices layered atop one another. Children, women, even Cammy's own. But you chose. Cammy held up the box. I brought them back. The woman paused. The cracked mask tilted. Then, too late. The lights dimmed. The house groaned. Cammy dropped to her knees. I don't want this. I didn't ask for this. The woman said nothing, only pointed. Behind Cammy now a new door had appeared. Unmarked. Closed. Cammy stood. Walked toward it. Hand on the knob. Before she turned it, she asked, Will this end it? The stitched woman didn't answer. So Cammy opened it. White light poured through, and the world vanished. She woke in her bed. Sunlight filtered through her curtains. Birds chirped outside. Her phone buzzed. A text from Nora. Hey, you ghosted last night. You okay? Another from Josh. Yo, you coming to school? I saved you a seat in bio. Cammy sat up. Her room looked normal. Smelled normal. She checked her closet. Her backpack was on the floor. The metal box was gone. So was the candy. She stood and went to the mirror. Her reflection blinked with her. Smiled when she did. No lag. No delay. She touched her face. Still her. Still here. Downstairs, her mom called. Cammy, breakfast. She froze. Cammy. Not Camille. Just Cammy. She ran to her yearbook. Her photo was back. She checked her phone. Her gallery was full. Her profile restored. She existed again. It was over, or so she thought. That night, as she settled into bed, she found something on her pillow. A note. Same handwriting. Same red ink. But a new message. Return is not escape. You carry the trick now. Below it, a single black-wrapped candy. Warm to the touch. If you thought Halloween was all fun and candy, think again. These stories don't end when the night's over. Which one haunted you the most? Hit like, subscribe, and tell us. Would you dare knock on that final door? Let me know if you'd like these tailored to a specific tone, dark, playful, cinematic, etc.